I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
The
Irreverent Nerds.
Bum, bum, bum.
Nerds. We are here. Surprise. We're dropping a bonus episode, but you didn't expect that.
We didn't expect it either. It just kind of happened.
We did talk a little bit, but as far as today, I kind of sprung it on you. So it's Tuesday, literally the day before we're supposed to drop our normal episode, and I'm like,
Tuesday.
Let's go see the Marvels and do a bonus episode instead. No, we're still going to drop our normal episode. It might be a little late, but we were just excited about seeing this movie. We've been looking forward to it, and it's the end of opening week, and it's Super Saver Tuesday at our local theater, so tickets are like $5-6 cheaper than they normally are. So we're like, let's do it. And Will was game.
That's right.
He was more excited about that than he was Castle in the Sky.
And then we went to see a movie called Brock Stanton or something. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, Stan Brock.
Stan Brock. Good old Stan Brock. I don't know what we just paid for. That's a story we should get into later. Yeah.
Well, we can get into it now. So we had an interesting experience that ended very positively. But yeah, it gave us a little bit of fun, something to talk about, I guess. You want to tell the story?
Well, from my point of view, I'm tired from work. I have a headache. I'm getting increasingly more irritated as we watch Fathom Events commercials. That wasn't the beginning of it. Let me start over. Rich bought the tickets, and for some reason they told him that we were switching to a different theater than the theater we actually bought the tickets for. I don't know why. And so nothing is playing on the theater screen. No one's in there. Eventually 2 more people join us, but so it's this constant merry-go-round of Richard having to get up and go ask the employees what's going on. So the first time they start showing us a loop of Fathom Events material, and then factoids about, did you say, what was his name?
Stan Brock or something like that?
Stan Brock.
Either Brock Stan or Stan Brock. I think it was Stan Brock.
And I'm just getting increasingly irritated, and I'm like, I don't know who Stan Brock is, but according to these factoids, he's the Chuck Norris of whatever this is. And so Rich gets back up and asks them to please fast forward through these Fathom Events things. So they say yes, and he gets back, and then we start watching the film, and the opening credits are rolling, and it's a Stan Brock movie, and we're like, what are we watching?
Yeah, so there was some miscommunication, I guess, apparently, and yeah, the Marvels wasn't playing, but the bonus at the end, because of all the trouble and because of the delay,
I'm not trying to knock the theater. It's just an experience.
Shit happens, right? Any job you have, you're gonna have your rough days, your hectic days, your tough days.
I thought we were getting pranked.
Hey, that would have been fun. But no, at the end, as a kind of an apology / like, hey, let's make this better for you. We know this got mixed up. They allowed us to go in to the IMAX showing of the film. So the previews had just gotten going on that one, and no upcharge. We got to see IMAX. Not only was it Super Saver Tuesday, so it was cheaper than normal tickets, but then, we saved the $5 extra we would have spent had we actually paid for the IMAX tickets. So
we got bumped from coach to first class.
That's right. So no complaints here. Thank you to the staff for being gracious and allowing us to do that.
The peanuts could have used more salt, though. I'm kidding. Airplane joke.
Yep. And the little liquor bottles aren't big enough. Too small. But yeah, so we got to see The Marvels in IMAX. Granted, at this theater, the screen we were going to see it on was already big. So IMAX is just a little bit bigger. But hey, I'll take a little bit bigger and a little bit better sound system any day of the week. So we got to see got to see it in all its intended glory, I guess. I don't think anything was filmed in IMAX, like with IMAX cameras, so it wasn't specially formatted in that sense for IMAX, but we got to watch it in IMAX, which is cool.
True.
So what's this movie about? Like, what the heck is this about? For people
Well,
that are
it's
like
about
the Marvels.
Stan
like,
Brock.
Stan Brock.
I'm kidding. Okay,
Stan
it's about...
Brock, the cousin of Stan Lee. No.
and my apologies to Stan Brock,
It's about
whoever
the
you
50
are.
million, the 50 million people in the U.S. who don't have health insurance. That's where that documentary was going, which I was actually kind of interested in. I was like, this is kind of interesting, but it's not what we paid to see.
Yes. I found it vaguely interesting also. But anyway, the Marvels, starring Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and maybe Photon. I'm not really sure. Whatever her Monica Rambeau's superhero name is going to be in the MCU.
Well, she's actually... Monica Rambeau's actually been Captain Marvel at different points in the comics, I think. I read some a run... selection from a run in the 80s where she was Captain Marvel.
Cool.
And she was also, I think, head of the Avengers for a bit at that point, back in the 80s. So it's kind of gone back and forth, but obviously in the MCU, Carol Danvers is Captain Marvel. So, but yeah, they kind of played around with that because I think I've heard some people talk about her being Nova Girl, which gets tossed around at some point.
Well, I hadn't heard that one. I've heard of Spectrum, and that gets tossed around in this film too.
Yeah, so like Kamala Khan.
But I was choosing Photon.
Kamala Khan is trying to give her.
Favorite.
So she mentioned that too. I didn't catch the Photon.
I don't think the word Photon came up in this film. I just know that Photon is one of the names from the comics that Monica is known by.
Which makes sense. Because she can. I guess like. She can manipulate light somehow, but can also phase.
Yeah.
Through things. She can like pass through things or allow things to pass through her. Sort of like Kitty from the X-Men, except somehow she uses light. Yeah, they talk about that in the film because, you know, the three, which if you've seen any of the trailers or any of the advertisements for this film, you know that Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan, a.k.a. Miss Marvel, all three of them, you know, team up, so to speak,
right,
to fight the big baddie in this film. So that's not a surprise to anybody.
And
who's
the
seen
connection, the connection is their light powers, as you mentioned.
Yeah,
which is kind of a retcon.
Was it? Oh yeah, because I don't think it's ever been talked about before. Like Miss Marvel being able to manipulate light into physical matter.
Well, she could do that in the her own TV show.
Yeah, but I don't know if they talked about it as her manipulating light.
I don't think
that's
so.
What I don't remember. I don't recall that. I could be wrong.
I don't think that they defined it that way. And I don't think they ever defined it that way for Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. The retcon is that, and this is, I don't believe we did a podcast review of Kamala Khan's own TV series. I don't think we did.
No,
we did not. Didn't think so. So I'll put this out here now for this film. The retcon I speak of is that in the comic books, she does not have light powers. She has stretchy powers, like Mr. Fantastic or the Elongated Man or Plastic Man.
Okay.
But
her multiphasic light powers are more interesting now.
I guess so, and that helps connect it. I can see why they did that now, why they made that change, because they were planning on connecting all the characters in this one film. I guess they just wanted her powers to be more similar to theirs, I guess.
But it's interesting. I guess Kamala Khan, a.k.a. Miss Marvel, like her powers, I think you mentioned like she has some innate abilities, and the Bongle just unleashes them / harnesses them. Whereas both Carol and Monica got theirs through an accident, so to speak, which both involved Infinity Stones, either directly or indirectly. It was like an Infinity Stone its power was being harnessed to create that propulsion device that Carol blows up, and then her body absorbs the powers, and then she gets I guess that was the Space Stone, I think, or the Tesseract.
I don't remember.
It was connected to the Tesseract. It was the Tesseract's power, which I think is also called the Space Stone.
It must have been the Tesseract, because I think that was the only one they had found in the 90s.
Yeah, that was the only one at that point that they had on Earth, I think, was the Tesseract. And so she got her powers from that, and Monica Rambeau indirectly also got her powers from that, indirectly, because you have Wanda Maximoff, a.k.a. the Scarlet Witch, now she had, much like Kamala Khan, like she had innate power. She was a mutant, right? But then she got amped up, so to speak, by being experimented on. She volunteered for it, but she was experimented on with the Tesseract.
Right. Who are we talking about again?
The Scarlet Witch.
Oh, of course.
And then it was
these
her
retcons are all confusing to me.
And then it was her hex that Monica Rambeau passed through.
Yeah.
Which then gave her powers. So hers indirectly came from the Tesseract, a.k.a. the space. I think it's the Space Stone, one of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
As well. So Kamala Khan is the only one of the three that wasn't connected to an Infinity Stone.
That's true.
But we do find out more about her bongle, and find that it's linked to another bongle, which at first, did you think what I thought? I thought that was our moon, like when it first, like in the opening scene, they land.
Yeah.
I was like, at first I thought it was our moon.
At first I thought it was, until I saw it teaming with all sorts of people that shouldn't be there. But I have no idea. It's just some random moon, I guess.
Was MX4 or something like that? I think they called it. They referred to it. But yeah, it's a place where they never really explain that. They never explain how it got there. Yeah, they don't bother to do that. They don't say whether it was the Kree that buried it there. Yeah, that's not really explained. But we do find out more about the Mongols and what their origins were. And we find out that they were connected to the space jumps, like when you go through the portals and you jump.
So they were Kree technology?
No, they predate the Kree. It sounded like
the Kree. I couldn't remember that part of the film.
But they were connected. She called them quantum bands.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel referred to them as quantum bands. And they were involved in the creation of the gates used for jumping, as you see. We first saw in Guardians of the Galaxy, and have seen multiple times since. So they're connected to that somehow, but they didn't say who created the jump system or who used the bands. So we don't know that yet. Maybe that's going to come in Ms. Marvel Season 2 or something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Perhaps. If that happens.
Yeah, and you mentioned this earlier, and we did see this in this film. How does she have her powers without the band when she takes the band off? I can't remember what season 1 of Miss Marvel explained, but it's my understanding from the comics that she's actually an Inhuman and had her powers awakened
by the band. Yeah.
Most likely in this series by the band.
Yeah, and I'd forgot. If they did talk about that in the series, I had forgotten. Because, yeah, that surprised me. Like, at one point she gets separated from her band when Dar-Ben, the big baddie, finally gets a hold of both bands.
Yeah.
And then, Kamala is still able to use her powers. Like, I was like, wait a minute. It's like, so that confused me for a minute, but if it's what you were saying, then that makes sense. Like, she already had latent powers or inherited powers, however you want to look at it, and then the band awakens it and maybe enables her to focus it or heightens it in some way. But then she's later, spoiler warning by the way, we're going to get right into
these
spoilers.
These are all
spoilers. Yeah, sorry, we didn't give you a warning at the front. Apologies for that. So yeah, here on out, if that's not already obvious, spoiler warnings. She's able to use both bands and not die, unlike, again, spoiler warning, the big baddie Dar-Ben, and you see it coming, but like she dies trying to use both bands, and they're too much for her to handle. And I guess she's just a normal Kree, doesn't have any superpowers of her own, and she doesn't have her Kree Warhammer or whatever you want to call it.
And the strange thing is that according to the may or may not still be in continuity Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, if someone who does not have Inhuman DNA, the Inhumans being test subjects of the Kree or the descendants of the Kree's test subjects, anyway, if I'm understanding that correctly, they would die. So if these bracelets, these bongles, did contain this Inhuman crystal awakening thing, oh man, it's been so long since I've seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That might be an explanation, although I don't think that's what's happening here. I just wanted to point that out. Mostly because she didn't turn into stone, but and she already had one bangle on. I have no idea.
I never did see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so...
It was good.
Yeah. And to be honest, I just don't have the time or the energy to go back and catch up with it now.
That's absolutely understandable.
There's too many other things to see or watch or just other more important things in life to spend time on, I guess. I was like...
And they might retcon it and make Kamala Khan a mutant instead.
Yeah. Which we won't spoil. There is a mutant involved. We'll say this much: there's a mutant involved in the mid credit scene. But obviously, if you're listening to this and you heard the spoiler warning, you've already watched the movie, so you know. So, unless you just like being spoiled and you're listening to it now, so
spoiled. Fair
warning: if you don't want that part to be spoiled, it will eventually be spoiled by us. Let's see. So let's talk a bit about what we liked or didn't like about the film, I guess. The opening scene. What were your thoughts on the opening scene? Do you like it? Dislike it?
It was fine. It was traditional movie, not just MCU, but movie in general opening. Big bad finds a big bad thing.
Yeah.
Wants to do a big bad deed.
Yeah, they find an artifact that they're planning to do presumably nefarious things with. Nefarious. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I kind of felt too. I was like, par for the course, you know. It was enjoyable to watch. Like, it was, I will say this, the CGI in this was excellent. Like, they did a very good job, which you expect of Marvel movies at this point. But yeah, and
except for the kittens. They were noticeably CGI.
Yeah, by the way, Goose, who's apparently a female Glork, what are they called? Gorgian? I forget what the cat.
Space cat.
No, space octopus cat. I forget what they call it. But anyway, Goose at one point later on has children, lots of them, and her eggs look like little pink brains for some reason. And they are, you know, humorously involved in a escape from. Yeah. It's pretty great, actually.
The Flurkin.
Flurkin. Yes, Flurkin. So the Flurkin, which inexplicably looks like a Felinus domesticus or whatever from Earth. I guess it likes to disguise itself as a cat.
Well, it's actually a Cthulhu abomination.
Cthulhu.
Is it Cthulhu or Cthulhu?
From the depths of the earth. From the bowels of the earth. Cthulhu's spawn comes forth.
You know, Cthulhu was originally from outer space.
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't read enough H.P. Lovecraft yet, I guess, to catch that. Cthulhu. I like Lovecraft stuff. Yeah. I've been thinking about recording some of it, like just recording it for fun and putting it on a podcast because it's public domain. So.
Oh, really? It is cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's old. It's old stuff.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure it's all public domain. But yeah, it would just be fun. Be fun to read. Put some creepy music on in the background. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So we talked about the opening scene. How did you feel about the pace of the movie overall? Like the pacing?
Well, I thought it was fine. Especially when the characters finally all got together and stopped swapping with each other. I mean, that was a little whiplashy, but
Yeah.
at first.
I think that's a good way to describe maybe the first 20, 30 minutes of the film. Like, it jumps around a lot. They're trying to introduce all three characters, especially, like, they were trying to introduce them well enough for people that haven't seen the first Captain Marvel or any of the other Avengers movies. Like, they did some, or at least the first Captain Marvel, they did some flashbacks to the first Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And they tried to connect, Kamala Khan, and introduce you to some of her stuff from her series. And then I think Monica Rambeau's, they don't do a flashback to her becoming or gaining her powers. They don't bother to do that, but they do some flashbacks with her and her mom and her and Carol. So they don't, but she does talk about her origins.
Right.
But they don't bother to do a flashback to it for whatever reason.
No. So this movie is very first time friendly. It'll catch you up to speed with all the pertinence. The pertinence of who the characters are, not every little thing. No.
You might be a little confused if you haven't seen. Like, to me, like, so if you're listening to this, if you're one of those people that like to hear everything before you see something and you haven't seen it yet, if you have time, I think the series that it's connected to, obviously it's connected to the first movie, the Captain Marvel movie, but then it's definitely connected to WandaVision, because of Monica Rambeau, and then Secret Invasion, with stuff with Nick Fury, although not as much as I thought it would be. There wasn't much connection. They didn't carry over much with the Skrulls or the storyline, and Nick Fury kind of jumps back into being Nick Fury. It almost makes me wonder whether this is supposed to have taken place before Secret Invasion.
Maybe.
Because he was, like, old and beat down, just very different in Secret Invasion. But maybe the Secret Invasion is supposed to be what rejuvenated him, and now he's back up working at Saber again. And he's, like, his normal Nick Fury self. But that wasn't entirely clear. So that seemed a little disjointed. Because, in terms of release dates, obviously Secret Invasion came first.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, you don't really have to watch that, though, because there aren't really any connections to the movie.
Well, it wouldn't
Secret
be the
Invasion.
first.
Nothing clear.
Sorry. I was just going to point out it wouldn't be the first time that MCU titles actually released out of order.
That's true. Yeah. Because they get delayed sometimes.
Yeah. Doctor Strange to the Multiverse of Madness was actually supposed to come after Spider-Man No Way Home, but they ended up going backwards. So the America Chavez character was originally supposed to appear in Spider-Man No Way Home, but that was scrapped. Maybe for the better, because that would have been too many characters.
Yeah, there's already enough going on in No Way Home. You didn't need additional characters.
Well, that was originally the character that was supposed to bring Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's characters into that world originally.
Okay.
If it didn't make sense why they were suddenly there, well, they know who Peter Parker is because they are Peter Parker, but if that doesn't make sense, then that's because American Chavez was originally supposed to go get the Parkers and bring them.
That actually would have fit better, honestly. Like, what they did to bring them in felt kind of dumb. That was one of the few parts of that movie I thought, I was like, that's dumb. They threw that in there, didn't they? Like, it almost felt like an afterthought. Like, the way they brought them in was kind of like, eh. And at the end of the day, you don't really care that much, but it still felt a little like, eh. But if she was supposed to be the one to have brought them in, that would have actually been better.
Originally.
I think. That would have made more sense and been more interesting, I think.
So who knows? Who knows which one of Secret Invasion or this movie was meant to come first?
It's a good question. Now that maybe I'll have to go back and watch. I don't know if I want to rewatch Secret Invasion. It drags a bit, to be honest. I wouldn't rate it highly among the Marvel TV shows. Loki season 2 is much better, in my opinion. Which this, for those of you, this does not. If you haven't watched Loki season 2 yet, don't worry. There's no, at least not that I noticed. There's no real connections to this film. Nothing really carries over or seems to be different. I don't know which is supposed to take place first. Yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say. Like, there's no clear connections that I could see to Loki season 2. So it's really just like WandaVision, absolutely, because of Monica Rambeau, and then Miss Marvel, obviously, and then Captain Marvel, the first one, and then anything else that Captain Marvel appeared in, throughout the MCU. Yeah, and the blip is referenced again, but not super prominently, but it's in there. It's in there. So let's see. I guess talk for a minute about performances. So, what'd you think of the main three actresses, and then also the actress who played the villain?
Well, Kamala Khan is delightful as usual.
Yeah, no, she's really fun. Played by Iman Vellani.
I didn't know that. I didn't know the actress's name.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
I'm cheating. I'm looking at IMDb. But they do also say in the credits. But then, so we have, I'll just do a quick rundown. So we have Zawe Ashton plays the villain, Dar Ben. Iman Vellani plays Kamala Khan. Teyona Paris plays Monica Rambeau. And, of course, Brie Larson is Carol Danvers. And everyone knows Samuel L. Jackson is Nick Fury, obviously. Yeah. And there wasn't really anyone else in the cast that was particularly significant. You have a few people that get more than one scene, but nobody really plays a huge role other than those, really just those 5 characters, honestly. That probably saved them some money in the budget. Well, I guess, honestly, Kamala's family plays a bigger role than a lot of the others. Like, they're in it quite a bit. Which
was bizarre why they put them out in outer space, but whatever.
It was fun. So we have,
I mean, not bizarre for the scriptwriters, bizarre for Nick Fury. Take you to space now.
So we have, I'll run them down real quick. We have Zenobia Shroff as Muniba Khan, Mohan Kapoor as Yusuf Khan, and Sagar Sheikh, I'm sure I'm murdering these names, as Amir Khan. So, yeah, and then pretty much everyone else is more of just a side character. Even if they have more than one scene, they're not as significant as those.
I really like the performance of Saber employee number 3, 105.
I did like the Saber employee. They don't explain how he was 306 years old, but Dag, played by Abraham Papula, somehow is 306 years old. So I'm guessing he's not from Earth.
I made that number up. I want you to know this.
What's that?
When I said 305, I made that up.
Did you really? Well, it was probably in your brain from the movie somewhere.
I guess so.
Because he's 306. So.
What were we talking about?
Dag, the big guy that's there. He has the braided beard.
Yeah.
He's there on the Saber.
Yeah,
deck.
I liked him. He seemed nice.
He was cool. He mumbled sometimes. I didn't catch everything he said. Some of his dialogue was kind of mumbly. But maybe that's more of a sound problem. Okay, so you liked the performances overall. You like Kamala Khan.
Yeah, I thought that the actress playing Captain Marvel this time around, I don't know if it was her performance or the script, but she was a lot warmer this time around. I like that. Of course, there are reasons why she wasn't a warm character in the first film. So in her defense, that's just how her character was written in the first film and needed to be written. But it was kind of a turnoff to audiences, I think. So I think that this film definitely did her a lot of favors, that character a lot of favors, in making her warmer. Yeah,
there's some hugs and some girl bonding, you know what I mean? Like female bond, we'll call it female bonding, like some, like, and I guess she's old enough, she'd kind of almost be like a mom or an aunt to the two, like more of a mentor type, even though she doesn't look older than Monica. In appearance, like in actual years. So she would have been, had she aged normally, she would have been in her late 50s by this point. But she looks the same. I guess the Tesseract keeps you young. when you get its powers.
I guess.
Yeah, like I did not, honestly, I didn't connect with her character. I didn't feel it was, personally, I didn't feel it was much more of an improvement. I thought the writing was clunky. And I hate saying this, I've seen Brie Larson in other things where I thought she was better, but I thought her acting, and that's maybe not just her fault, that can be a combination of writing, directing, editing, all the above. But that was my main complaint of her. Honestly, in all of her appearances as Captain Marvel, she's a bit stiff. She's just, I don't know, it just feels a little too forced. Maybe that's what she was told to go for. I don't know. But you did see her let her hair down a little bit. Like, she joked around. Well, no, that wasn't any different than Captain, because she jokes around in Captain Marvel. She jokes around with Nick Fury, and even some with her mentor from her Kree, I guess, team leader, played by Jude Law.
Right.
In the first one, you even see a little bit of her joking around there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I have a hard time connecting. She seems emotionally stunted in the roles, honestly. And again, maybe that's what she has been asked to do, as an actress. But it might go beyond that, because I've seen Brie Larson in another big time movie, Kong Skull Island. And it might be, again, a combination of factors, but she was also very stiff in that, just very closed down. I just have a hard time connecting with her character. I connect more with Monica Rambeau, Teyonah Parris's performance, and with Kamala Khan, Iman Elani. I connect more with the two of them, I think, than. But again, maybe she's supposed to be a bit stiff. Maybe that's part of her character portrayal as well. So either way, I just never have connected as much with her. But that's me. That's So I'm kind of still there with that. It still felt a little forced and clunky, like her. Yeah. But again, maybe that's what they were going for, which I'm like, okay, that's if that's what you want to do.
So would you say that her performances in other movies weren't as forced or stiff?
Honestly, I've not seen The Room yet. I've heard really good things about her performance in The Room. I've not seen that, but I saw her in something. It was an independent film. She was still her. Like, if you went back and watched this, it's called Short Term 12. It's the first thing I ever saw. Well, I should say that. It's the first thing I ever saw her in as a protagonist. She was in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, actually.
Really?
She had a small role in that movie. I never would have. I didn't know who she was back then. And I was like, oh, that's Brie Larson. It's like, I had no idea. And it's not a big role in the film, but she is in it. But no, I saw her in Short Term 12, and that was really good. It was an independent film. And she plays someone who grew up in foster care and halfway houses, and she now works at one, as a caseworker. And so it all takes place. Most of the movie takes place at the halfway house for kids.
You should tell me what that is, so I can watch it, because I get believe it or not, I get training credits for watching movies based on fostering and stuff with the
Short Term 12.
My foster agency.
So it's called Short Term 12.
Short Term 12.
I own it, actually.
Cool.
I don't know what streaming service it would be on, because
I'll have to borrow it.
An independent film. Well, it's on my iTunes. So.
Okay, I can't borrow it.
We can watch it together at some point. But if you were to watch that, she plays a bit of a tough. Maybe she's gotten stereotyped a little bit of playing tough, kind of emotionally withdrawn characters, because she's a little bit that way in that movie too. So maybe it's more of she's getting pigeonholed a little bit into that of the tough, don't show my emotions, which some male actors have, some of that happens to them too, where if you get pigeonholed, you get typecast. Sometimes it's hard to get people to hire you to do something different. I will say the one scene I thought was kind of fun. She got to let loose and show a little bit different side is when they go to Aladna.
Yeah, the part of the movie I didn't like, but you apparently loved.
I didn't. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it was a fun diversion.
It was strange.
It was strange.
It was fun, I guess.
It was fun for the most part, but yeah, it's a planet where their language is singing, which inexplicably singing English.
Singing English.
Inexplicably, they sing English, conveniently.
I was just waiting to see if we were going to get like full-blown Bollywood or something.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't. And it was a very diverse cast of people there. But she apparently is married to the prince or the king there of the planet. And then they do a dance and they sing together.
And now I have to figure out whether or not this was in the comics.
If I had to guess, it probably was at some point. But that sounds like something that would pop up.
I just wonder if there was somebody in the audience just nerding out because she was married to this prince.
Yeah, it's like,
I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, and I wonder if I don't know. He's obviously of Asian descent, but I don't know like which, like the actor who plays, I don't know if he's Korean or something else, but I was like, it's like maybe he's from, maybe he's like famous in a different realm. But let's see, Park, that sounds Korean. Park Seo-joon plays Prince Yeon as Seo-joon Park. I'm pretty sure that's Korean because Park is a fairly common Korean name, so he's probably from South Korea. But I wonder if maybe he's famous in like Korean television, and they brought him in.
Cool.
Like appeal to that audience. Yep, Seoul. He was born in Seoul. Yeah.
I love the part where he was bilingual.
Yeah, that was funny. 'Cause he can talk normally. He's bilingual. Yeah. Well, I guess that was their attempt at putting like some lighthearted, more humor into.
Yeah.
But in general, most of the humor they attempted didn't work real well for me. I don't know about for you.
Didn't work for you?
Not so much. Like it felt a little forced. Some of it landed like with the what'd you call it? Flirkles?
No, flirkles. Flirkles.
Flirkles?
Flurkin.
Flurkins.
The flurkins.
The flirkles.
Flurkins.
No, the flirkle. I am Flurkle. I'm Steve Flurkle. No. And the flirkins.
It's a flirkin cat.
Some of that, more like physical humor, some of that landed. But yeah. So anyway, acting was all right. Yeah, and maybe it is just more of the choices that they've decided to make with Brie Larson's character. Maybe it's not as much. It's just like, hey, we want you to be emotionally distant and like, but yeah. But I've seen other actors handle that type of character better, like where you're like the emotionally distant character, like where like you don't show a lot. Heath Ledger, for instance, was, is just. Yeah, there's just different ways of doing it. But overall, I think overall I enjoyed it, and
I did.
Yeah. So what? Let's see where we're at on time. Okay, we're coming up on our time here. We're trying to keep this a little shorter than normal. Overall, like, what would you rate? Like, how many nerd hats would you give this film?
I was just thinking about that, actually. I can't decide if I want to give it a 3.5 or a 4, so I'm going to give it a 3.8, meet it in the middle.
Okay.
I thought it was a fun MCU adventure. It's not something... I do like Kamala Khan, but I don't think it's something I would personally own on DVD or Blu-ray. But there was a time in my life where I wanted to collect all of the MCU, and then the MCU exploded, and I said, forget this.
It's too expensive. Just get a Disney Plus membership.
Yes, exactly. I don't have enough time in life to rewatch all of these things. Anyway, so...
once every few years, just revisit one that you really like.
Exactly. So, it was really enjoyable. It was a popcorn flick. It wasn't... I don't know if this film was pivotal pivotal to the entire MCU plot. But it was good. It was a good film. I mean, that's a question. I don't want to derail the conversation because you need to give your rating, but that's a question we could talk about is how many of the MCU movies are pivotal?
Yeah, it's a fair question.
These days,
there's some connections with all of them, and obviously, and we'll get to that in a minute. The mid-credit scene does connect this to.
Yeah, that's about the only pivotal thing in this movie.
Interesting. But yeah, obviously it does progress Miss Marvel's characters with the bands and stuff, and so she gets both bands now, both bongles or quantum bands.
Quantum bands.
But yeah, as far as my rating, so having learned from Thor, from the fourth Thor, I gave that one too low of a rating initially, so I'm bumping this one up a bit. I'm going to say 3, which means it's above mediocre. Yeah, it's not. It's a little bit above mediocre, but not a lot. And it means that I did enjoy it. Like, it's an enjoyable film. Production value is good. It's a beautiful film to see in IMAX. This popcorn flick, as you said. But yeah, the villain didn't really grab me. Like, I did like the fact they tried to make her a little more complicated as a character.
Yeah.
She's like doing something horrible to protect her people / also seeking revenge at the same time. So 2 birds with 1 stone, right? But yeah, she just didn't grab me as much as one would like. And yeah, not enough chemistry between the 3 main. It felt a little forced at times, and between the 3 main characters, even down beginning with the way that they connected their powers, that felt a little short.
Yeah.
It
should.
It didn't work as well for me. It felt rushed a bit in the way they portrayed it in the film. I know they talk about it later. They have exposition on it later. But but anyway, getting back, I would give it 3. I think 3 out of 5. So yeah, like, enjoyable film, above mediocre, but not too far away,
right,
as far as the MCU goes. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So I guess before we sign off, we'll talk about the mid-credits scene.
Yeah.
You wanna take the lead on that?
Well, it was really funny. Obviously, I couldn't tell you this while we were watching the film, but I was like, "Oh, she'll be back." She probably just wound up in the Fox X-Men universe or something. and then the mid-credit scene rolled around, and I was like, "Oh, that's nice. She's in a universe where her mom is still alive." And then all of a sudden, Beast walks in.
Yeah.
And I didn't pull any stops. I didn't leave you in suspense. Who walked in? I just said it.
Beast.
Just went out and said it.
And it's the Kelsey Grammer Beast.
Yeah.
Although not Kelsey Grammer in a suit. It's Kelsey Grammer CGI Beast. But that definitely sounded like his voice. And I
think it was good CGI, though.
I don't know if they have him in the credits, because that would probably spoil. But they probably don't list his... He's probably not credited on IMDb at this point. Although if he is, that would definitely be a spoiler. But... Yep, there it is. Kelsey Grammer, Dr. Henry Hank McCoy. So if anybody looked at the casting list before watching it, they would have been like, wait a minute.
And
I had heard a rumor that Captain America, and I was wondering if it was going to be like in the alternate universe, at the end, Monica Rambeau, in it, she doesn't die, but she like makes a sacrifice. She gets cut off from her universe.
Yeah.
In order to seal a rip in space-time. And then she gets rescued by the X-Men. But one of the X-Men there I did not recognize, and it seemed a little too convenient that it just happened to be someone who looked exactly like her mom.
Yeah, I did not like that part, I admit.
I was like, that feels forced. They just want to get the actress in another movie.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. So I was doing some thinking, and I think that character appears in one of the Spider-Man cartoons on Disney, the Disney Channel.
Oh, she's called Binary. So
Binary?
She's called Binary.
Oh, okay. Well, I think she appears in that. I think I remember seeing her, but I don't know anything about the character.
Oh yeah, and another. I guess this is probably close to an end credit scene. It's like it happens at the very end of the movie, so it's what they normally would have put as like an end credit scene, but did it at the end of the actual movie instead before the credits started rolling. But they have Miss Marvel show up
Oh yeah,
at the home, kind of channeling
the Rambo home.
definitely channeling Nick Fury, recruiting Iron Man.
Oh, that part.
Kind of
Oh,
feel.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, she shows up in the apartment of Kate Bishop, who just got back from doing Hawkeye things.
Which is very dangerous.
Yeah, you don't want to just show up there. I mean, I guess she could defend herself, but like, she's
you
just,
know,
like sitting there in the dark.
yeah. I just feel like she's lucky she didn't get an arrow through her head.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm sitting in the dark, and I think I'm all badass and cool.
Yeah, Kate responded with, which if you've seen the Hawkeye series, you know that Natasha's sister shows up much like that, sitting in her apartment, and she didn't put an arrow in her head. Well, actually, no, I think she did try to attack her, so maybe she learned from that. It's like, this might be a friend.
This might be someone who doesn't want to kill me. Huh?
Which, by the way, I'm still wondering if she's going to come back as the next Black Widow, or like the replacement of Black Widow.
I assumed it.
But this is apparently now officially, which we've already heard it's coming, but this is like the beginning of the Young Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so you have Kamala Khan being the one that starts the recruiting, so she recruits Hawkeye first. And trying to think who she might. Would she do? What was the character you were talking about earlier? The one from Doctor Strange. Maybe she's going to be in there too. Maybe.
Oh yes, American Chavez. Yes, most likely she'll be a part of the Young Avengers.
Oh yeah, and then from the
An
from
Iron
the
Lad.
second Black Panther movie. Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Of
course.
Iron. What's her character's name? The girl.
Ironheart.
Ironheart. Yeah, she'll probably.
Yeah,
be in there
most
too.
likely Ironheart. The Iron Lad is a complicated character from the comics. He is one of the Young Avengers, and I can see where they would bring him in, but with Ironheart, that might be too much iron. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it'll just be Ironheart. More girl power.
See, Iron Lad is actually, well, he's like the grandson or something of Frank Richard. No, Reed Richard. I'm sorry, Reed Richard. And who's Franklin Richard? Is that the son? I forget.
Which I am curious how they're going to bring the Fantastic Four in to the MCU. Like, they sort of introduced him Doctor Strange, but it was in an alternate universe.
Yeah.
And then what?
Then they all died.
Reed Richards dies.
They all died.
Well, I think he was the only one there of the Fantastic Four, and he dies.
Yeah. Yes, and everyone who was there died.
He gets like ripped apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor John Krasinski. He only got to be Reed for a few minutes.
But
of course, that'd be pretty cool. You get a call. He's like, "Hey, you want to be in a Doctor Strange movie? You know, you get to be Reed Richards for like 5 minutes." It's like, hell yeah! Can I be him again later? Well, we don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
But you at least get to be him for 5 minutes before you die.
Oops, said too much.
Yeah, and Charles, of course, also gets killed. I forget who kills him. Who kills him? I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, it's the evil
Scarlet Witch.
evil Wanda.
Evil Wanda.
Evil Wanda. Obsessed Wanda.
What's the name of that evil book she had again?
Oh, the Necronomicon. No.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but no.
I forget what it's called. The Dark something.
Yeah, the Darkhold. That's it.
Darkhold, okay. The Dark Tome. The Evil Tome.
I wonder if I can buy that on
Yet another tome.
AliExpress.
Oh, yeah. Maybe so. Maybe so.
Yeah, Timu's got Darkhold for sale.
Oh,
That's
man.
where I got my Necronomicon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Just don't read it out loud.
That's okay. I don't know ancient Sumerian.
It's like, for God's sake, how do you make it stop? You get sucked into another universe where there's walking skeletons and, yeah. Sorry, we're going back in time with our podcast. So anyway, this is not
That's okay because Ash Williams has fought Marvel Zombies, so it's connected, all right? So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So this is a bonus episode. It's actually we made, depending on when I get the editing done, this will either drop the same day as our Castle in the Sky, or they'll be like a day apart or something. But both of them are going to come out this week. So bonus, you got an extra episode because we wanted to go see a movie, and we're like, well, we got to do a review afterwards because it's Marvel. So you're welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So it's from Moana. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm just trying to be funny.
What can I say except you're welcome? All right. So, nerds. Okay. Next episode is Castle in the Sky, which releases this week. And then our final episode of Miyazaki month, we're going to cover Spirited Away. It's going to be our finale for Miyazaki month. Then we open up December with The Simpsons, and then as yet to be determined comic book related episode for week 2, and then we will finish off with the newest and probably final Miyazaki film, The Boy and the Heron.
Yes.
And that will end season 4 of this old podcast. Might end the podcast. We're not sure yet. But it'll definitely end this season. So. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
So until next time.
Live long and prosper.
Sayonara. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. If you would, consider following us on Instagram. We are there at irreverent_nerds. You can also hit us up on Facebook. Just look us up there at The Irreverent Nerds. That's our fan page. We have a YouTube channel as well. Once again, The Irreverent Nerds. Nice and simple, right? And if you go to www.irreverentnerds.com, that will send you to our Podcasters for Spotify, formerly Anchor.fm, profile, where you can send us a voice message if you want to, support us financially, or listen to the podcast. It will also direct you to other places you can listen, like Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, you name it. So, like, comment, subscribe, follow, all those good things, wherever you find us, wherever you listen to us, we would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, nerds, live long and prosper. Avengers assemble! I'm Batman.